If you'd like to be able to listen to the show without ads and have full access to bonus content, that's an option. To find out how, please go to dogmanencounters.com/podcast. Hey everyone, thanks again so much for joining us for another live stream episode of Dogman Encounters Radio. Really appreciate you joining us. For tonight's show, we're going to bring on an investigator who not only researches dogmen, but he's been investigating Sasquatch for years and years too, 30 to be more exact, for both Dogmen and Sasquatch. Well, on tonight's show, you're going to hear about several of the encounters he's had with dogmen and an encounter he had with a Gugwe, unfortunately. Now, if you're wondering what a Gugwe is, don't fret, because I'm going to have him explain to you what a Gugwe, however you want to pronounce it, is. So, like I said, don't sweat that. Well, having said all that, without any further ado, let's bring him in here now. Tonight's guest is Thomas. Thomas, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Vic. Glad to be here.
Well, it's great having you. I really like to mix things up. I don't like to go for too long of a stretch where it's nothing but just normal eyewitnesses, Tom. I like to, from time to time, bring investigators in and bring other guests on too to kind of mix things up. It's still focused on dogmen, but just to kind of mix it up. So to be able to bring you on tonight, I think we were kind of overdue for bringing an investigator on, especially a well-tenured investigator such as yourself. So yeah, for me, I think it's pretty much perfect timing.
Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. Well, Tom, please give us a brief bio on yourself.
Myself is, I'm a former military policeman in the United States Army for 13 years. Done 2 tours in the sandbox. And also was a correctional officer for many years in Tennessee and Kentucky, and went in as a private security contractor, and now I am currently retired.
Well, thank you so much for your service to our country.
Thank you. We're most welcome.
Yeah, we definitely appreciate it. When you're out investigating in the field, what kinds of things do you take from that training from the military and use out in the field when you investigate cryptids?
Well, my observation skills, learning what to look for, knowing how to track. It's just a matter of it's just paying attention and tuning into your environment.
That's always a good thing to do when you're out there. I wish more people did that. Now, you've been investigating Dogmen and Sasquatch for 30 years now. I'm wondering, though, Tom, which one have you put more investigations into? Which one have you focused on more?
Well, I focused more on the Sasquatch because of an encounter I had when I was in Cub Scouts down in Florida, when one evening as dinner was being prepared, we had a skunk ape run through our camp.
Wow. And story behind it.
And a friend of mine, a fellow scout whose family was very familiar with him, he told me what it was. I was just kind of stunned, like, what was that? And it got me going down the rabbit hole, so to speak.
Yeah, it's a slippery slope, isn't it?
Never ends.
Yeah, definitely. Researching dogmen as long as you have, Tom, how much of a risk do you see them as posing to your safety when you're in the woods?
Well, here's the thing is I can tell people. There's certain things you don't do. When you go into the woods, you go in with respect and be humble. That is their home. Never wear the color red, because that's like a red flag to a bull. Always wear earth tone type colors. If you see one, be calm. Do not, under any circumstances, run, because they will consider you a prey item. If they want you to leave, they will give you a warning to leave, just like a wolf will. They will growl at you. Uh, their big thing is they like to terrorize you. They like to bully you. They want to see what your reaction is going to be. But if you're leaving, don't ever turn your back on them.
Yeah, that sounds like really good advice. It does. You know how to find Sasquatch hotspots by looking for certain features on maps, from what I understand, but does the
Yeah.
same thing hold true with dogmen when it comes to your
Um, well, here's the thing: is this is one thing that I've learned, Vic, over the years that Dogman and Sasquatch do share the same areas and territories. So pretty much, but the thing is with them is they like to avoid each other.
I tell people all the time that normally they seem to mix like oil and water. What do you
Yes.
make of the cases, though? Incredible eyewitnesses report seeing them together. It doesn't seem to happen very often, but I've had
Here,
some very credible
here's
report that.
here's my theory on it. I think when I have heard the same reports where they've run together. My thing is it would not surprise me if Sasquatch steals the pups and then raise them themselves. That's the only way I could see them running together.
So guard dogs in.
Pretty much.
Wow. Can you imagine a guard dog man? Holy cow.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind having one.
Huh. As long as it doesn't turn on its owner.
Exactly.
Yeah, that wouldn't be pretty at all.
No,
I know that you have strong opinions about people who say they want to have a dogman encounter. What more can you tell us about that?
no, you don't. And I ask people, do you really want to? Because if you do, you've never seen one or any type of cryptid, it will completely change your life. Everything you've ever thought and ever believed in will come crashing down.
That's really good advice. It always gets me, Tom, when I hear people say that they want to have a dogman encounter who, because of things that they say, tell me that there's a good chance they really don't have any business going off into the woods by themselves. Even if they don't have an encounter with a dogman, it just makes a hair in my butt stand up when I think about what would happen to them if they did go into the woods and happen to bump into one.
Well, here's what I'll tell everybody. This is one of my go-to guys is Nick Valenti from the North American Dogman Project. He's my go-to guy when I have questions myself. And but you need to go in the woods at least minimum of 3 people. You go by yourself, you're just asking to become something's dinner.
Yeah, that doesn't give you the warm and fuzzies, does it?
No, it doesn't. And one thing is, I tell people if you are out in the woods, start looking in the trees because these things like to go from treetop to treetop.
You know, it is. Most people, when they're in the woods, they're looking down at their feet so they don't trip. So they miss all sorts of things above their heads.
Exactly. They need to learn how to step, how to walk in the woods. You got to feel the ground.
I could be wrong, but I think that's why so many people get lost in the woods. They don't pay attention to what's around them, and before they know it, they're turned around and lost.
Happens every day, and there's a lot of strange disappearances too.
Yeah, that there are. All right, Tom, please tell us about your dogman encounters now. Give us every last detail that comes to mind.
Well, I have 2 that are really prevalent, and the first one was in state park here in southern Indiana, where I live in Indiana now. Uh, a former research partner and I are out there with a couple other people setting up camera looking for Bigfoot. And I'm sitting at the picnic table, just kind of, relaxing, chilling. And I see this set of amber eyes staring at me. So I'm watching it. And all of a sudden, I just start seeing him going up, 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 at least 8 feet. I'm like, okay. Well, this thing's moving around, and it showed itself, It was enough I could make out what it was. It looked at me for a minute. I looked at it for a minute. It dropped back down to all fours, and it left in a loud manner. You could tell it was heavy. Well, my research partner at the time looked at me and goes, "What was that?" I looked at him and said, "You don't want to know." But I'll tell you this, it reminded me of the werewolf from Van Helsing.
Uh-oh, that's not good. Someone's not happy.
No.
Whenever you're ready, please continue.
My other one was in Land Between the Lakes last April. And I was with 2 other people. I was down in the Devil's Backbone on the Tennessee side. And you understand Devil Backbone, you have your trail is only like maybe 4 feet across. And it's like 300-foot vertical drops on each side. Well, we were being trailed. We heard it was come trailing down the creek. And we're like, okay. And then the weird thing is we saw branches snapped off that weren't snapped off on the way in. So it was being trailed. And a few minutes later, there was some brush that was growing along the side of the trail. It came up the rock face behind this bush. And it was growling. You could see the ears, the big pointy ears. And it was just moving back and forth. And I yelled at it and told it, "You don't want to come out behind those bushes." It got the message and it scurried on down to the creek, but it continued to follow us out. But the strange thing was we were getting tree knocks like every 60 seconds on either side, and which were Bigfoot tree knocks. Well, as soon as it heard the tree knocks going off, it departed the area.
Well, that's good that it left the area. After having all these experiences, though, Tom, do you still feel a lot of angst whenever you find yourself in the presence of a dog man, or is it almost old hat to the point where you're pretty cool, calm, and collected most of the time?
Well, here's the thing. I don't fear them. I respect them. I respect with what they're capable of doing. And the problem with them is their unpredictability. You don't know what they're going to do. And another thing is, if you see one, there's at least 2 others because they like to come in on you on the flanks. And I knew a person here that doesn't live far from me that got terrorized by these things for about 2 hours when they didn't take the message to leave the area, and they pretty much surrounded them and were growling at them and throwing stuff at them and just basically terrorizing them until they decided to let them leave. And this individual hasn't been back in the woods since.
Yeah, I bet that did frighten them out of the woods. I'm asked all the time, Tom, what the best way is to handle a dogman encounter. If you're out in the woods for whatever reason and all of a sudden come to realize you've got a dogman close to you, how do I handle that, Vic? Well, what advice would you give someone in a case like that?
Back out of the area slowly. I mean, if you feel a need to defend yourself, there's numerous things you can use. As one, bear spray works. A high decibel whistle above 145 decibels If it's night, strobe lights work. If you carry a firearm, load it with hard cast or solid copper rounds of the biggest caliber you can handle. But don't use a firearm only as a last resort.
Yeah, that's good advice. Tom, is that your wife in the background? I don't
Yes.
know. Is there any way you can either move where we can't hear her or...
Okay, hold on one second, Vic.
Thank you. She doesn't sound very happy. I apologize for the pause, everyone. I'm pretty sure Tom will be right back. And for anyone who's still wondering about what a Gugwe is, don't worry. After Tom gets back, I'm going to ask him to clarify that for you. Now would be the perfect time to play the music from Jeopardy. I guess I should take this opportunity to put a word in from a new Dogman podcast. It's called Dogman Tales, if you didn't happen to know. Every Friday night at 9 p.m. Eastern Time, I air a new episode of it. So if you didn't know about it, recommend you check it out.
All right, I'm back, Vic. I apologize for that.
Well, that's all right. Thanks for clearing that up. Tom, now that you're back, please do me a favor and tell the people who don't know what a Gugwe is, give them the 411.
A Gugwe is a type of Sasquatch that is basically, just imagine an upright walking baboon on steroids.
They can have differing looks and all. Some people think that all Gugwe look the same way, but they can have varying looks to them, the same way that Sasquatch can and Dogmen can.
Yes, but they're always with a pronounced snout.
I'm going to ask you in just a bit here to tell us about your Gugwe encounter, but before I do that, can you describe what the Gugwe that you bumped into looked like?
He was solid black. The eyes were red. It had a pronounced snout. It looked, like I said, looked very baboon-like. And he was big. He was built like an NFL linebacker.
Yeah, that's scary. Before I ask you to tell us about your encounter, I should probably put this out there. When it comes to Gugwe, some people call them type 3s. There are probably a lot of people listening who've heard the term type 3, but maybe not Gugwe, or vice versa. Well, understand that a lot of people in the South, if you say the term Dogman, they think of what a lot of people call a Gugwe. They think of a cryptid that's got hominid style legs with its heels on the ground and knees instead of stifled joints. Perfect example here to illustrate my point. This was years ago, probably 8 or 9 years ago, not too long after I started airing episodes of Dogman Encounters here. I was listening to a podcast late one night, couldn't sleep. I had just gotten done working and I just put this podcast episode on. And as it turned out, Hawk Spearman was a guest on it. No, I take that back. I think Linda Godfrey was the main guest. And about halfway through the show, when I forgot what podcast it was, but about halfway through the show, when the host started taking call-ins, Hawk Spearman, a well-known Sasquatch and Dogman researcher, he called in to basically have it out in a way. He was civil about it, but he took exception to the description that Linda Godfrey put out there describing what a Dogman looked like. Now, naturally, she described, when she was asked to tell what a Dogman looked like, she described what a canine type Dogman looked like. The most common type that people know, with the the canid style legs, they have hocks instead of ankles. They have stifled joints instead of knees. Well, Hawk called in. He wasn't happy about her describing dogmen as looking that way. He said, no, they look like, and then he went on to describe a type 3, a Gugwe. That just illustrates my point that a lot of people in the South, like Hawk, unfortunately, he's passed away, but that just illustrates my point that a lot of people in the South, if you say the term dogman, they think of a Gugwe, not a canine type dogman. So I just want to put that out there. It's
I can explain that.
Please do.
You have different type of dogmen. Okay. What Hawk was describing, he was dealing with a werewolf or a lichen type. And those, my research partner, Neil, who is on the show, we were researching at his house last October. And we caught a werewolf on thermal. And its ears were not on top of its head, but more to the side of the head, and they were really long. And it was at least, I'd say, 9-10 foot, weigh at least 600 pounds. And when we're watching this thing walk, the Bigfoot that frequents his property, they started screaming. And when the Bigfoot started screaming, they took off. The werewolf took off. That is the first werewolf I have ever seen, and that's the last one I hope to ever see.
When you call it a werewolf, do you mean a conventional werewolf where it's a person that transformed into that?
No, it's what it looks like, because like at Hawking is, it walks like us. It's bipedal like us. It doesn't have the hocks. It has the same lower body structure as we do, but it's got a giant wolf's head on it. And it's like huge. And people have mistaken them for Gugwe. But Gugwe is completely different. Because at Gugwe, they have the small ears like a Bigfoot. Their snout is more like a baboon. The eye color of Gugwe is red reflection, where a dogman werewolf is generally it's amber.
Have you seen the subject in the photo called the Beast of Seven Shoots?
Yes.
From the way you describe what you saw that night, it sounds like you're describing the subject in that photo, are you?
Pretty much. The one carrying somebody's dog. That's what they look like. But sometimes the coloration is different. The one I saw was all black. Didn't have any of the coloration to it.
A lot of people describe the subject in that photo, the Beast of Seven Shoots. I should probably clarify this. Anyone listening who hasn't seen the photo of the Beast of Seven Shoots, if you do a Google search and spell shoots, Chuttes, the Beast of Seven Shoots, that photo will pop up. And the dog that's in its arm, when you do see the photo, it seems like that's a pretty good sized dog from what I understand. And I think the dog is facing backwards,
yes,
that it's holding like a football in its arm. That'll probably give you it might or might not give you a good idea about the scale of the subject in that photo. But if you haven't seen that photo, I do recommend you check it out. It'll blow your hair back. It really will. Now, a lot of people, Tom, when they see that subject in that photo, they say, aha, well, that's what a type 3 looks like. That's what a Gugwe looks like. It seems like in this whole cryptid field, there's so much tomato. It's hard to really understand what people are talking about in a lot of instances.
I agree, because there's, just like humans, which different races, it's the same thing with these things. They have evolved strictly to their environment. I mean, the ones in the south are a lot smaller than the ones in the Pacific Northwest, which are huge, which they have to be because they're dealing with mountains. They got to be as big as they are. The ones in the south, they don't have that problem.
The one that you saw that you describe as being a werewolf, if it looked like the subject in that photo, the Beast of Seven Shoots, that one in that photo looked like it was almost standing straight up and down. It didn't seem to have much at all of a bend to its knees or anything like that. Is that how the one that you saw, the werewolf you saw, looked, or did it have a pronounced bend to its knees?
It was like us. It was very human. I mean, the way it was walking, but it was in the thermal, you could just tell it was just massive. And like I said, the ears are different because the Beast of Seven Shoots, if you look at the head, they have the small ears like a Bigfoot.
Oh, yeah, I didn't even think about that. Yeah, that subject's ears aren't very big, like what you described on the one you saw. That's good that you pointed that out.
Yes.
That is. If you had your druthers, if you had to have an encounter with one or the other, would you rather have an encounter with a werewolf or a Gugwe or a dogman, a canine type dogman?
Probably a Gugwe because for the simple fact is Gugwe, they're highly intelligent, and if they see they're kind of lazy because they don't like to really work for their food. But if they see a human is armed, they will back off you. But with that being said, you better watch your back. You better watch your six because they will come back around you and wait till you make a mistake and not paying attention. They're going to try to catch you off guard. But if you're armed, they're not going to come right at you.
I've got my own opinions about this, Tom, but I want to ask you, if a werewolf, if a Gugwe, if a canine type dogman has it in for you and you're in the woods and you're armed, do you think you can effectively protect yourself even if they have it in for you or not?
Well, it all depends on what you are carrying at the time. Because one thing people have got to understand, these things are incredibly fast. I mean, they're faster than a Bigfoot is. And if they come straight at you, you're done.
It's one thing to have to contend with something that is fast, but limited to the kind of speeds that most creatures are. But when you're talking about something that's cartoon fast, like what Tom's talking about right now, you don't have eyes in the back of your head. So if it really has it in for you, like he's laying out, I just don't see how you could possibly protect yourself from it. I really don't.
I mean, like I said, you have to go with 3 or more people. Then you're going to stand a chance, but by yourself, no.
So many people, and I'm going to ask you about this and just setting it up. So many people overestimate the safety a gun, having a gun on them brings to them in the woods. They think that that's almost like a magic shield that makes them absolutely foolproof. Nothing can harm me. That really sticks in my craw. Do you get frustrated when you hear people talk like just by having a gun on them that they can't be harmed out there?
Yeah, that kind of does because to me, that's just ignorant way to think it'll get you killed.
That's a really good point. I should probably put this out there too. One of the reasons why I take such a stance on having a gun out there in the woods, if you wind up having a dogman encounter, how that can actually add to the danger is it touches on what Tom just laid out for you. So many people, if they do have a gun in their hands or on their person, they're more likely to do things because of overconfidence in the ability of that weapon to protect them. they're much more likely to do things that will get them killed that they wouldn't even think about trying to do if they didn't have that gun with them. I'm not anti-gun, not anti-gun at all. I've had tons of them in my time, and still do. But I'm talking about a situation where be careful. Don't put yourself into a situation where you're going to increase the odds of you being ended out there in the woods because you're overestimating the ability of a weapon to save your butt if you find things go sideways. So that's why I take that stance on that. Now, Tom, I know you know about the Appalachian face eater. When people talk about face eaters, are they talking about werewolves or Gugwe?
They're probably talking about the Gugwe, more than likelier than not. I've never actually tell you the truth, investigated it, but I do know along the Appalachian Trail there have been cases of Bigfoot taking hikers. A lot of strange disappearances out there.
That there are way too many. If you had to put a finger on it and guess, of the three, well, I guess I should say four now, dogmen, talking about canine type dogmen, whenever I say the term dogman, werewolf, Gugwe, Sasquatch, of all these people who go missing in the woods around the country, around the world, which one do you think is the most common offender for that?
Probably, I would say a Sasquatch.
Really? Why is that?
I think because Sasquatches are more they're opportunistic. Well, depends on the area that you're in, but it could be pretty evenly matched. I mean, I don't think anybody really knows. To be honest with you, but I've had read reports where there's been a lot of Sasquatch sightings along the Appalachian Trail. Dogmen, I haven't heard so much. Because like I said, they each have their own territories, but also sometimes their territories will overlap.
I'm sure that makes it really interesting, having overlapping territories like that. It would have to. A lot of people do seem to go missing on the Appalachian Trail. So, and that country there is perfect for all these cryptids. So,
they've been sighted in every state. I mean, areas in Indiana, go down to the Hoosier National Forest. It's like Dogman Central down there.
How far have you gone from home to investigate dogmen, canine type dogmen?
I've driven 7 hours, 8 hours.
Yeah, that's a pretty good trip right there. Do you have any places that you still want to go that are still on your bucket list to investigate them?
Well, my research partner and I sometime are going to be going to a place called Potato Creek State Park. We've been getting a lot of reports out of there, dogman reports. But I want to get into the Hoosier National Forest more in southern Indiana.
Yeah, you talk about a Holiday Inn for these guys. They'd really have a great place to run around there.
Oh,
yeah. The Hoosier. They would. Well, I'll tell you what, to stay on top of things here, Tom, I want to ask some questions from the live chat that they want me to throw at you. The first one I want to put out there is from Lowman101. He wants to know, do you believe dogmen are the result of, I think he means Gugwe Sasquatch interbreeding?
No. These things go way back, all the way back to Egypt with Anubis. And with the Native Americans I have spoken to, which they call them the wolf people, they said they have always been here. Because you're dealing like a Gugwe and Sasquatch, that would be kind of a scary combination, but they're both type of Bigfoots. So, of course, your DNA is going to be different from a canine.
I've got a two-part question here for you. This is my question.
Okay.
I don't want to put words into your mouth there, Tom, but I take it's my guess that the Native Americans that you've been speaking with about this, do they know that you go out there into the field intentionally trying to seek out encounters with dogmen? And part two of the question is, if they do, what do they seem to think about that?
Yeah, they do know, but they say it's not a very good idea.
Oh, I'll bet they say that. Yeah, I don't doubt that at all. I've got another question for you from Caleb Gates. Caleb wants to know, if they share territories, do you think they have I think he means, have they ever interbred? I've seen some weird creatures.
Well, like I said before, Caleb, you're dealing with Bigfoot, which are hominids, which are probably closely related to us. But Dogman is strictly it's an upright walking canine. So the interbreeding, no.
One of the most common rebuttals, it seems like, when you start talking about dogmen around people who just aren't having it, they just will not accept the fact that they're out there, is there isn't any fossil record of these guys out there. What's your take on that?
They bury their dead. Just like Bigfoot do. That's why we haven't found them. Haven't found anything.
If you say that to some of these skeptics, they'll say, okay, well, as far as Sasquatch go, you've got Gigantopithecus fossils. There's only been one fossil, a tooth has been found. I think part of the lower jawbone, but we don't know that Gigantopithecus was a Sasquatch. If someone came back at you with that retort, what would your response be?
I would tell them Giganto was an ape. Sasquatch isn't, because of the mitochondrial DNA from the mother. I believe what Sasquatch is an ancient type hominid that evolved, that is one we haven't even found yet. They don't even know what it is. I mean, the DNA, they get it, they go like unknown primate. And people said, "Oh, they're a monkey." No, humans are a primate.
Just imagine. Oh, I'm sorry.
I think these things have been around for millions of years, and I think our government knows about them. They know what they are, but they're just not going to divulge it.
Oh, of course not. Imagine what would happen if at a dig, if all of a sudden the bones of, and it's not a guess, it's clearly the skeleton of a dogman, a canine type dogman showed up, or the skeleton of a Gugwe, or like you call them, a werewolf showed up in a dig. Imagine how the government would be scrambling in to cover all that up. It'd be ugly.
Okay, I got one for you here, Vic, and I'll tell anybody do this. Look at the Fort Lewis, Washington, United States Army Wildlife Manual. You will find Bigfoot in it. I'll let you all think about that one.
I found out about that, and I really don't know what to think about that. I mean, the government is so careful about things like this. How could they allow that to ever be? I mean, that's just mind-blowing. What are
Now,
your thoughts on that?
well, just recently, I think a couple of years ago, the Ohio Department of Natural Resources have acknowledged the existence of Sasquatch, and they even put out a video about it.
Is it your opinion that just like the government seems to be kind of somewhat, if you could call it that, opening up when it comes to UFOs, do you think the same thing's holding true for cryptids like Sasquatch and Dogman now?
Yes, because they know it's a matter of time because they can't hide it anymore. So what I think, in my personal opinion, what they're going to do is introduce it to the public slowly. They're not going to hit the masses all at once with it. They're going to do it in a systematic manner, or kind of like ease people into it.
Well, by and large, the general public is so close-minded. I can only imagine all the difficulty that the government would have getting them to warm up to the fact that these things are out there. That would not be pretty.
No, you probably end up seeing your national parks and state parks closed because people would refuse to go to them.
Exactly. Yeah, when people ask me why I say that the government's not going to allow them to be officially acknowledged, I tell them, well, think about what would happen, the calamity that would happen if they did let that cat out of the bag. No one's going to want to live around a forest even when they hear that, guess what, in a forest near you, you just might have something that looks like a giant werewolf. So, yeah, I think society would just collapse around our ears. I really do.
Now, just imagine, Vic, they're going to have to turn around and rewrite all the history books.
Oh, they don't want to do that.
Exactly.
So many other things too that they wouldn't want to do. It'd be really ugly. It would truly be a morass. Now, you had an interesting conversation with a woman who had some pretty interesting news to share with you about, I'll just say, a pack of dogmen that she used to interact with when she was young. Please tell us the story behind that.
She's from Michigan, north near the UP, and she told me as a child that she grew up with them, and she was about to be attacked by another dogman type creature, and the pack that was on the land, it always protected her, intervened on her behalf, kept her from getting killed. But she explained to me, she goes, 10 miles down the road, there was a pack that will soon as kill a human being as look at them. Now, the thing is, I will tell people, these are unpredictable. You've got to learn how to read their intent. If they start really showing their teeth, all of it, and their ears are starting to flatten back, you got a problem.
Yeah, that definitely wouldn't be pretty to see. It's so hard to think for these things. There have been a lot of eyewitnesses I've spoken with who witnessed that happen, and they were caught dead nuts to rights by a canine type dogman, but allowed to leave without a single scratch. What's your take on that?
They were just doing it just to terrorize them and bully them. That's what they like to do. You got to stand up to them and tell them, no, they understand what you're saying. You tell them, no, I'm not going to put up with your garbage. You're probably just going to sit there and look at you like you're like, okay, this human's not showing fear to me. I wonder why. Because you're going to be doing something that they're not expecting.
Yeah, I guarantee they've never seen anyone do that before. Stand up to them and not be extremely fearful. They probably wouldn't know what to think about that.
No, you just can't. You just can't. Yeah, they're big and they're scary, and they try to be intimidated, but don't give into the fear. I mean, it's easier said than done, but you have to force yourself. Stand your ground and say, "Look, or say I am leaving," and back out. I mean, I have the attitude that's like, when I leave the woods, it's like I will leave on my own. I'm not going to be run out, if that makes sense.
As you know, for a lot of people, not running, that is a huge ask. But yeah, if you want to walk out of there in one piece, if you want to leave the woods in one piece, it's vitally important that you don't make that mistake.
You just you walk back the exact same way you came in. I mean, don't be going slow, move with a purpose, but don't run. I mean, yeah, they will flank you. They will follow you out. Ignore it.
That sounds like really good advice. I've got another question for you from the live chat from Caleb Gates. And Caleb wants to know, how many dogmen are there in your area, Thomas?
Well, my research area is like an hour and a half from where I'm at, but where I live here in Lafayette, we have a place. It's called Wildcat Creek, which is a few miles from me. I have investigated those woods along the creek. I have found Sasquatch footprints. It would not surprise me if there's a few of them probably around. I haven't seen any, but it's the right type of environment. I'll put it to you like that for them to be here.
It's obvious you're one cool, calm, customary investigator out there in the forest, Tom. But if you go out on an investigation and bump into a dogman, a canine type dogman, you've done it several times, multiple times. Do you still lay in bed that night and you're gobsmacked to the point where you can't sleep, or is sleep not a problem because this whole thing is so old hat for you?
I sleep just fine, but I mean, I'm not going to lie. I mean, there's been times that I have been afraid. Who wouldn't? But the thing is about fear, you've got to learn to control it. You don't let it control you.
That's really good advice. Of course, easier said than done because a lot of people have better control. Some people have better control over their fears than others, but you just have to make that attempt to do that. That does sound like really good advice. I've got a great question for you here from MXVT, and they want to know, does the dogman, talking about a canine type dogman, of course, does the dogman have a natural predator?
Well, I have heard of accounts where dogmen and Bigfoot have fought, or will fight each other, but predation on each other, no. As a natural predator, I probably not. I mean, what predator in North America would want to go up against a 8 to 10 foot tall werewolf?
That's a really good point.
A Bigfoot would. There's no, whatever the outcome will be on that, but try to prey on it? No, I don't see it. Just like a Bigfoot, it's not going to, there's nothing in North America that's going to prey on it.
Some people have put it out there that dogmen not only possibly bury their dead, but eat their dead. I know you said that they do bury their dead, but do you think they ever eat their dead?
I've heard Sasquatch is doing it. I don't see why they wouldn't.
That does make sense. I've got another one for you from Caleb. He wants to know, Vic, ask Thomas what kind of food they like.
If you go out in the woods, I'm just going to be funny. Just bring some milk bones out with you.
Yeah, not a good idea, especially if one decides to try to take one out of your hand. That actually happened. I can't remember if that eyewitness came on the show or not, but this guy was sitting around the campfire and this dogman came up and just stared him down. He was cooking weenies over the fire, had a stick through the weenies and was just roasting them. Dogman came up, walked up like he owned the joint. Well, he did own the joint, but this dogman just boldly walked up, staring him down, reached out and took the hot dog off of the stick he was roasting that hot dog over the fire on and just pulled that hot dog off of the stick and just ate it right in front of them, staring them down. What are you going to do? Can you
Yeah,
imagine?
exactly. It's just like, hey, what, another one?
Yeah, pretty much. Here's the whole pack.
Yeah, here's the whole pack. It's like, here, tell your family they can have it.
They do so many things that are just so over the top like that. The nerve on these things, of course, they own the joint. They can do whatever they want to do, but still the nerve.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, definitely. I've got another one for you from Bang Bang. Hey Bang Bang. She wants to know, Thomas, did the werewolf's eyes glow?
Yes,
All right, that
I
answer
have
is
seen.
that.
I have seen them glow.
That answer is that then. I've got another one for you from Lowman 101. He wants to know, has Tom ever used a Ouija board?
Never will, and they are. It's to me that's bad medicine.
Good man. Good idea to steer clear. I've got another one for you from Caleb. He wants to know, as a veteran, were you scared of the dog man or was it scared of you? I know I'd be scared of your training, and thank you for your service.
1 year we're most welcome, Caleb, and I would probably have to say that we're both probably scared.
You really think the dog man itself was frightened of you?
I think I wouldn't. I don't want. I would say it'd be more apprehensive because it didn't know what I was going to do, and I didn't know what it was going to do.
Yeah, that makes sense. And it knew you might have been armed. It seems like both Sasquatch, Dogmen, whatever cryptid you bump into out there, it seems like they know whether you're armed or not. It doesn't matter if you have that weapon on display. Seems like they just know. How do you think they do that? Do you think they smell the gunpowder or through some other means?
Well, people say, they can smell the gunpowder. I just kind of like chuckle and say, really? It's like, I don't think so. Now, yes, I do go armed. I do carry my weapons concealed. Sometimes it really active where there has been an attack, I will carry a long gun. I will carry a shotgun with hard cast slugs in it. If you do carry a handgun, the type of ammo to be used, I would use hard cast rounds either from buffalo bore or underwood ammunition or solid copper monolithic rounds. Still, because you are going to need penetration.
You made a comment a bit ago about how you should use copper rounds instead of lead. What's the story behind that?
Well, the copper, it's a solid. It's a solid copper. Almost looks like a Phillips head screwdriver called extreme penetrators. Yeah, they work real well. Now, some Native Americans, where silver has a with the purity and protection, and also copper has kind of the same type of properties that silver does in as in like protection, like silver. But me personally, I use hard cast lead flat points.
Have you ever used a hard cast lead round that gave effective results?
Yes.
I don't need to tell you, there are so many people in this whole cryptid field who they present themselves as if they can tell you how many hairs are on a dog man's shoulder blade, right shoulder blade versus its left shoulder blade. I've had people tell me things like, if you use copper rounds, that's the only effective way to fend one off. If you use a lead round, it's not going to do anything when it comes to these guys. What's your take on that?
Well, here's the thing: is where with the hard cast flat points is you've got to be able to smash bone and penetrate the thick muscle of the body to get it into the vitals. With a dogman and a Bigfoot, your headshots between the eye and the ear is your best point to aim for. The eye sockets are probably the most ideal. I mean, put one through their ear. But I will tell anybody this: your firearm is your last resort. There are a lot of other things that you can do before you have to resort to that.
I'm glad you said that. Do you say the things that you have because you believe they have an armored chest or for other reasons?
No, it's just because of their bone density. Their bone density is a lot thicker than ours. Their muscles are thicker than ours. So you're going to need a round to be able to punch through that.
That makes sense. Let's get back to the questions from the live chat. The next one on deck is from Charles Dugo, and Charles wants to know, does Tom and team travel and research armed? Which you answered that a bit ago. Wondering, since he mentioned a type of ammo, and the answer is yes. He went over that pretty close to the beginning of the show, or maybe the first fourth of the show. The next question is, this is a good one, from Hadley Ramsdale. And Hadley wants to know, how can you tell a werewolf and dogman apart? Since most people use the typical werewolf description to describe their dogman encounter. And if there's two types of dogmen, are there two types of werewolves or just one?
There are different types of dogmen. There's one in LBL that I haven't seen, but I have from people that have researched that area, and one was a really close friend of mine. They saw one that looked like a hyena.
It's funny you mentioned that, because guess what the next question is about hyena type dogmen? That question's from Space Jerk 35, and he wants to know, hi Vic, hi Thomas, could Thomas please talk about the hyena type dogman? Thanks.
I don't know a whole lot about them, but my friend who has dealt with them, I mean, I'm going to tell you what he told me. He goes, these things are total buttholes. He thinks that these types are also responsible for a lot of the missing person cases in the South. When it comes to these, he said they're just utterly vicious. He said, dealing with them, they start acting stupid. He goes, best thing you can do is just drop it.
Better be a good shot.
Well, that's why I use a 12 gauge.
Yeah, that makes sense.
With a hard cast slug.
Yeah, that should do it. Hit him in the right spot. This next question is from Lowman 101, and he wants to know, has Tom ever looked for Gugwe near the abandoned Woja mines? Many sightings.
I have no idea where the Woja mines are even at.
I don't either. Yeah, that's new on me.
I mean, to be honest, I have no idea where that's at.
That makes two of us. The next question is from G Black Sheep, and G wants to know, and it's a good question, do you know where they bury their dead?
If I were to take an educated guess, probably in the most isolated area where humans do not go, ever. Same thing with Bigfoot. They'll take them somewhere where people probably have never even walked that type part of the land.
If I had a nickel for every person I spoke with who thinks that we go everywhere and there are no places left in this world that people don't touch, I'd be a rich man now.
Yes,
I'll bet. I'll bet. How ridiculous. Yeah, there are so many places we don't go. We don't go near. So it's crazy to say that, crazy to think that. It really is.
Well, that's the problem with most people. They think they know everything.
Yeah, that they do. That's a given. I've got another good question for you from Unreal Estate Agent 770, and they want to know, do you think they're more than flesh and blood? Natural, in other words, as we know it. Possibly some kind of interdimensional spirit beings of some kind.
Here's my take on it. 30 years I've been doing this. Every cryptid I ever seen is flesh and blood except for one, and that is a hellhound. And I saw one of those in a cemetery, and it just dissipated in front of me, literally, in the black,
Wow.
in the smoke. Dogman, Bigfoot, flesh and blood all the way. I mean, it's. I've heard people talk about the interdimensional, but I will keep my opinion to myself on that. What I think that they're kind of a little off, if you know what I mean.
I understand. I've got another one for you from Claire Porter. And Claire wants to know, Thomas, is it true that a Gugwe is different? I think she means is a different type of dog man. Forgive me, I think she means I just returned from the UK and missed the beginning.
Oh, that's okay, Claire. Answer your question. The Gugwe is a Bigfoot type of Bigfoot, not a Dogman.
That answers that. Let's find another good one. I've got one here for you from Legion, and they want to know, do the Dogmen or Sasquatch ever work with the crawlers?
Well, from what I understand, is Dogman they kill crawlers, and if I were to take a guess, Sasquatch probably do also.
Do you think they do that for fun or for some actual purpose?
I think they're enemies.
When I asked about a particular purpose, I'm getting at maybe they do that because crawlers have a tendency of targeting their young or some other reason where if they actually got rid of the crawlers, that would help perpetuate their species or whatever you want to call them.
You know what? That's a very good theory. It's very well possible.
I'm sure with all the people you speak with who see these cryptids, I'm sure it's been run by you, the possibility that dogmen feed on Sasquatch, or at least juvenile Sasquatch. This was years ago where someone contacted me and they told me they were convinced that had to be the case. And I asked them why. Well, they went on to tell me how they were somewhere out in the middle of nowhere and somehow they came across this track of juvenile Sasquatch prints. Well, they told me how they saw some pretty big dogman prints that were right next to those Sasquatch prints. And no, I'm sorry, they thought that they had to be buddy buddy. And I posed the possibility that maybe the Sasquatch, the juvenile Sasquatch, had come along at one point, and then after the fact, maybe a bigger dog man had come along and was actually tracking that juvenile Sasquatch to prey on it. Do you think the dogmen ever do take the opportunity to do that if they catch a smaller Sasquatch by itself, or do you think that's just taboo and they never try to do that?
I have actually heard of accounts where dogmen have done that. I mean, I've never seen it myself, but I have read reports where the dogmen will predate on juvenile Bigfoot.
I wonder how that goes. I wonder if normally dogmen don't try to jump on a Sasquatch that's above a certain size compared to their own. I mean, as you know, Dogmen, they get awfully big. If you do have a 10-foot dogman, a canine type dogman, I wonder what the cutoff line normally is, where they just draw the line and say, okay, I'm not going to try to tackle a Sasquatch above this size.
Well, here's the thing: is dogmen, they're pack hunters. They're like wolves. There's been packs of up to 30 of these things running together, and you get a good sized pack, 12, 15 of them. I don't care how big the Sasquatch is, it's not going to win. Because there's not going to be a one-on-one fight.
Do you believe that canine type dogmen are obligate carnivores?
Yeah, I think they're very opportunistic too.
If they are obligate carnivores playing the devil's advocate, do you think they come together in numbers only once in a blue moon? Or do you think they make a habit out of doing that? Because if they made a habit out of doing that, if you think about the daily caloric requirements of one dogman, that's 600 plus pounds. If you multiply that times 10 or 15, you can only imagine how quickly they would go through all the resources in a huge area. If that's the case, how do you think they combat that?
They go to different areas. They never stay in the one area for very long. Because they understand that they can't deplete all the resources in one area. So they're going to give it time for those resources in that area to be able to regroup, regenerate before they'll come back. I mean, they're from understanding, like Bigfoot, their territories can extend hundreds of miles.
To us, traveling that far, that's a big problem. But for these guys, yeah, that's just a hop, skip, and a jump for the most part.
Exactly. I mean, you think I'm sure that they have migratory paths, when they go meet, probably different clans meet up to mate. So there's not inbreeding between the same clan.
Can you imagine? Oh, I'm sorry.
Bigfoot are known to do that. They basically, they meet up in the fall. Clans will meet up in the fall, and families will, swap, males and females among the clans and breed. I'm sure the dogmen probably do the same thing.
Can you imagine running into an inbred dogman? That wouldn't be good.
The one thing that scares me about the cryptids is running into one that got contracted rabies.
Ooh, yeah, that wouldn't be pretty at all.
That would be bad. I think that would be, to me, would be my worst case scenario.
Yeah, that's not my idea of a good time. I've thought about that before. It does make you wonder. I've got another good question for you. It's from Blood Viper, and he wants to know, do you think dogmen follow migration paths from territory to territory?
I believe they do.
When you make a living the way these guys do, just imagine how well they know all the paths to get from one spot to another. I mean, that's their life.
Well, and I'm sure along the way, they're migrating. If they could take some farmer's cow or take their pig, they're going to do it. If they know they can get away with it.
Yeah, it only makes sense. We're an hour and 10 into this. I need to tend to the animals, so I'm going to get ready to call this. But before I do call it, do you have any closing comments you want to put out there for us?
The only thing that I can tell you is when you go in the woods, don't go alone. Be vigilant. Always look to the trees, and don't become something's dinner.
Well, that's really good advice. It really is. Thomas, I can't thank you enough for coming on and imparting all this knowledge on us. I really do appreciate it. And of course, if you'd be open to it, love to have you come back on in the future.
Okay, sounds good, Vic. Most definitely.
Great. Of course, I'm looking forward to that. Well, again, thanks so much for your time. I really do appreciate it. And of course, I want you to know if I can ever help you out, please let me know.
I will, Vic, most definitely.
Good man. I'll be there for you. All right. Well, having said that, thanks again so much for your time and have a great night.
You too.
Thanks. We'll see ya. Well, that's another one in the books. Before I get out of here, just wanted to put it out there. Two things. If you didn't realize it, I've got a new Dogman podcast. It's called Dogman Tales. And Tales is not spelled Tails, it's spelled Tales, in reference to the fact that we're talking about fictitious stories on that channel. It's Dogman Tales again. It's not available on YouTube. It's only available via your favorite podcast app. It's available wherever you listen to podcasts, including iHeartRadio and all the other podcast platforms out there. So check it out. I think you'd like what you hear. Also, if you've had a Dogman encounter that you need help coming to terms with, or if you want to come on the show and share it with the listeners, please go to dogmanencounters.com and submit a report. If you do that, I'll be more than happy to contact you, and that way we can schedule a phone consultation. But having said that, thanks again so much as always for listening, and have a great night.